Hello and welcome to www.lostboys.com. My name is Chris McGuigan and you're listening to podcast number 143 on September the 7th, 2012. Well, back to the old team tonight. Caught up with Jamie and Jerry on Wednesday night and we had a wee chat about a couple of the games that have done in the past. We looked at some of the new signings. We talk a wee bit about HailHailMedia and we spin the big rickety wheel. Hope you enjoy it. Here we go. So here we are. It is September the 7th, and on the line at last is the talent. Gerard.
My most humble apologies that we get held up with a couple of things this afternoon.
I'm glad you jumped in there, Jerry, because I was confused there. I didn't know which one of you to mention first to piss off the other one.
No, it was all my fault. Jamie was ready to go at 3:30.
James Burchell, good evening.
Good evening, how are you?
Not too bad. I'm sure you two lugs are just chomping at the bit now with American football starting in like an hour.
Well, it's in an hour and 40 minutes. The America's team, beloved Dallas Cowboys, are playing some team out of New York. I guess that won a couple Super Bowls recently. And
not that
I'm pretty
matters.
excited. I'm pumped, dude.
And baseball in full swing, Jamie. Football. We've got the soccer. My God, do you get time to do anything else?
No, that's why I just hired a new girl today. I said I expect big things from you. Now I got to go. I got to do a podcast.
This conversation could go anywhere right now. And did she bring big things? No, let's not go there. We'll not go there.
Second day.
And Gerard, Calgary Stampeders?
No, I don't.
Don't care?
I don't bother with that.
Somebody on my timeline on Twitter tweets about them all the time.
Sorry?
Yeah. The last time I went to see the Calgary Stampeders, I went with a friend of mine, and I think my arse actually froze to the bleachers.
It may still be stuck there, aye?
Here, I'll give you a laugh. By accident today, I was mucking about with I found an old iPod, right? And I stuck it on and went into the podcast page, and there was a whole lot of Lost Boys, really old Lost Boys ones. And I think it was number 52 or 62 or something. And I stuck it on just for grins, right? And it was me and Jamie sitting in his back garden in September, and it was snowing in Calgary. And we did laugh. We give it to you about mosquitoes, and we had the fans on and cold beer, and you could just hear your little lips quivering so you could all the way from Canada.
I remember that clearly, actually.
They were the days. Eh, lads?
that was back when we were good.
I can't remember that far back. That's why I had to refresh my memory.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, actually, I want to talk about HailHailMedia for a wee while this afternoon or this evening as well, and we'll come on to that later on. But you know,
world domination.
Oh, isn't it brilliant having the pressure off? This is great.
I have some problems. If we're going to talk about it, let's just go right up in it, because I think it really shows how poor you are, McGuigan.
No doubt about that, but go on anyway, yes?
What I'm trying to say is, like, your intros are terrible.
Okay.
Your outros are even worse. Okay? You have no, sound effects. If you listen to the Homeboys or any of these other guys, they're kicking your arse, buddy.
Look, really tell you something. I'm glad. I'm really, really happy.
Jerry, am I right on this? You should listen to the sound effects. They have their own music.
The professionalism is somewhat higher.
Yeah. Well, lads, now, I'll throw it out there, and it's there for you to take it and run with it if you want. Like, if you want to take over the intros and the outros, if you want to do the sound effects, be my guest. I'd be happy to hand over the controls. Delighted.
I've been dying to do this. Listen, I think I can get that intro done in 45 takes.
As long as my daughter's not sitting in the room laughing at you.
Hey, now that you're a long way away, it might only take 35 days.
Look, Jimmy, I would love for you to be the anchor man for this podcast, because I can turn up late on a Wednesday night just like you two.
How was your bath, by the way?
Oh, man, it was brilliant. It was brilliant. I'm in a whole new world these days. It's brilliant. The pressure's gone. It's all gone. I'm relaxed. I'm a different man.
I think the last time I took a bath was probably when I was 4 years old. I mean, are you? What are we? Are you going to like Turkish baths now? Is that what you're doing over there?
Look, you know I'm not very tall. I haven't got a swimming pool in my back garden anymore. A bath's about as deep a water I can get into now. Actually, that's not actually true. To be fair, we do have a swimming pool in our back garden even now. Unfortunately, I had to blow that one up.
Did you? You know what I picture? You in a bath with like a because you can't swim worth a crap with a
that is true.
Like a rubber duck around you, like one of those blow up rubber duckies.
These days, there's no room for a rubber duck in my bath. I only need 3 inches of water. Okay, so well, come on. We'll talk about HailHailMedia later on, because I mean it's a roaring success. You know, I talk to Harper every day about it, and it's going. Oh, the numbers are going through the roof. It's absolutely fantastic. But tonight we want to talk about new signings. We want to talk about a couple of matches. Did you get the big rickety wheel out, Jamie? Because we need to spin the big rickety wheel tonight as well. And we'll see where it goes. You know what I was really in the mood for, though? Whenever I was sitting waiting on you, I was mucking about on Twitter and Facebook and stuff like that.
Did you hear that? Sit and wait for us.
Sitting waiting for us. Yeah, slip that one in case anybody missed it the first time. I'd love to do a Tim and Hunt again some night, just for fun. We've done an awful lot of Celtic over the last few podcasts, and like Celtic's starting to get a bit old, isn't it?
Okay, I suppose we could do that, because I have vowed that we won't talk about them again.
You vowed that we won't talk about what?
Them again.
Oh no, they're off the agenda. They're off the agenda, because I'll be honest with you now, they're just out of my line of vision at the minute. I don't even see them. I don't even look for the results. In fact, when I go on to look for my football news, there's nothing about them anymore. They have disappeared. It's great.
I look at it.
Do you?
Yeah, I do. On BBC, I look every week. I want to see where they're at, and I saw that they tied, and I look.
No, I don't. I don't. I've lost all interest completely, and I tell you what, my wee world's wonderful. I mean, I was quite surprised that we didn't get them in the League Cup this week, because we were seeded and they weren't. But, you know, I think that's a movie we'll see in the future.
Probably.
Well, it won't be this season.
Well, providing they beat Motherwell. But anyway.
That's what I'm saying. It won't be this season.
Oh, it'll be so good, won't it? I mean, they're absolutely trunks anyway. All right, I don't want to talk about them. There we go. I'm done. Calm yourself. So now you've torn yourselves away from your fantasy football and all that kind of stuff to have the podcast tonight, which is great.
Hey, Jerry, real quick.
Damn it.
Yes.
Jerry, so I've got
Ahmad
Bradshaw going tonight, or do I start D'Angelo Williams because Jonathan Stewart's out for Carolina? So should I go D'Angelo Williams and Arian Foster?
Was that Caroline Stewart?
That's the lineup I would go.
I know Caroline Stewart.
The Giants are just going to split all their carries.
Yeah.
All right, now listen, lads, see if we're not going to talk about the Huns, right? We're definitely not going to talk about American football.
What do you mean? I'm in a pool with 20 other Celtic supporters.
Well, you know what? Then you just need to do your NFL boys cast or whatever they want to call it. You should be good on that, see, weird.
NFL sells. That's where it's at these days.
There we are. All right, so where would you like to start? You want to start about football? You want to start about the transfer window? Do we want to? Should have played the Champions League music. We'll get round to that one. Where do you want to start?
Somebody's already done that, Chris.
I know Homeboys done it, so it did. See, I do actually listen to Homeboys. But you know,
they're a little bit better.
No. See, you're missing the point.
To Cheltenham, you gained a couple of LBs, and your production's just piss poor.
Like, lads, it wouldn't be the first time Lost Boys have played the Champions League music. You know, there can only ever be a first. We were the first to play the Champions League music. We were the first to do the phone in. We even done a video phone in.
The the full song. That's the first time I'd ever heard it.
That's only because Joe and Harper were getting drunk in the background and trying to get hold of Jason and Paul.
Are you saying that they copied us with the phone-in show?
I'm not saying copied us. I'm just saying it was a really successful medium that we used, and it's good to see someone taking it to a better level. I'm diplomatic to the end, aren't I? I should have been a Prime Minister. Should have been a politician.
Actually, you know how I want to start? Is I want to hear Mr. Burchell's thoughts on Celtic qualifying, because he's the one that said there was no chance. When I was fully optimistic that Celtic were going to qualify, he said, no chance.
Jerry, you were not only optimistic, you bordered on adamant.
Yes.
I did question it, I have to say, but I wasn't as vociferous as Mr. Burchell, so I'll let him take it away.
Well, I didn't know that Celtic were going to be playing MLS teams. And first of all, I mean, no one, I thought they were going to be playing good teams like Cluj. You know what I'm saying?
I'll tell you what,
Your Cluj is hurting after that.
I mean, seriously. But, I mean, Sweden? Come on. You know what you're good at, Sweden? Really nothing. But you're definitely not good at soccer, obviously.
Sorry, Henrik. He doesn't mean it.
Besides Henrik. I mean, Henrik's before my time.
Sorry, Mr. Mulvey.
I'll take Henrik and the girl with the dragon tattoo. And that's like it. So, I mean, I didn't know they were going to be playing really like 4th division.
I'm glad you actually brought up Cluj, because I say everybody that listens to the Lost Boys podcast now, I think, are keeping a wee eye out for their results. They're definitely my second favourite team right now, Cluj.
I love going on Twitter, and the Cluj comments are pretty awesome, actually. That's our new Tim and Hun. Don't be a Cluj. Oh, my Cluj is killing me.
Well, but the Hun's dead now. Should we even do Tim or Hun? Tim or Cluj? Does that have
Tim Cluj could be better.
Same ring to it? Same thing, I suppose.
We like Cluj.
We love the Cluj.
Mr. and Mrs. McGuigan, I'm very sorry.
Mrs. McGuigan's in bed an hour ago, mate. It's midnight here.
No, I'm talking about your parents when they listen to this.
The real Mrs. McGuigan.
Yes.
not this old blow-in that's living under this roof. All right, so take it away, Jimmy. Champions League.
Oh, pretty awesome, right? I mean, the time is... What's so great about working for myself again, Jerry and Christopher, is that I can sit there on my computer and watch it. And now with Fox Soccer Plus, man, I love Fox Soccer Plus. So I will, in quotation marks, work from home. It's really awesome. I'll sit there with the laptop open, answer emails, and watch Fox Soccer Plus. No offense to Celtic TV, but it's just to get it on my big screen that Christopher and I put up on my house. It's been a joy.
Or
bringing a tear to my eye.
I do that as well.
Jimmy, remember putting that bloody TV up? You and your bloody bracket? The bracket was more expensive than the bloody TV.
Well,
all right, so let's start there. Celtic 2, Helsingborg 0, Foster Matthews Aguirre, Wilson Mulgrew Brown, Commons, Forrest, Wanyama, Samaras, Hooper. That match was brilliant, wasn't it?
I thought the game was very one-sided, Chris. Helsingborg didn't offer much. Celtic were by far the better team. Again, Helsingborg, they just didn't adapt to anything that Celtic were doing. I thought it was very comfortable over both legs. And obviously the scoreline reflected that.
I thought even in the first leg, I know we won 2-0 away from home, which was brilliant, of course. Like, Helsingborg looked kind of dangerous. It was it had it playing in the back of your mind going into the second leg. But Celtic came out in the second leg, and I thought they meant business. The team just looked to have something about them, a wee bit of sharpness, appetite.
The confidence, Chris.
Yeah, Jerry, it was brilliant, it was brilliant. And even the team that Lenny put out, it looks like he's developing a team for Europe and a team for home, and he's certainly rotating the squad, isn't he?
Yeah. Remember at the end of last season, we were going through our weekly dialogue of who would be for the off and who was going to be kept. And we mentioned Samras's name, and we said that Lennon sees Samras as the key to success in Europe. And I think that's playing out, is it not?
It seems to be. Certainly Samras and even Brown. I know Brown's sort of carrying an injury at the minute and kind of played through the pain barrier. But that team just showed a maturity that maybe they don't get an opportunity to play together in the SPL right now.
Do you think that's a bad move, though, having these two separate teams? Because I think they're struggling a little bit in the SPL getting up for some of these games. Do you think some of these new signings are going to help that?
Well, in terms of the SPL, I think there's going to be a lot of squad rotation this year. And currently, especially last weekend, it was sort of forced on them because of the injury situation. But I think you're going to see a lot of squad rotation through the season. Just given the dynamic of the SPL this season, there's less pressure on Celtic to win every game this season. So you can introduce a lot of the younger players. I think it's a really good thing for Celtic right now.
Well, because they played 4 games, they've won 2, tied 2, and they're 1 point off, you know.
Right, but it's a great opportunity to develop young players right now, Jamie, I think.
Yeah, I agree, you know, and if you can't, I tell you, as a Celtic fan and as a supporter and as a Celtic player, if you can't get up for the group that you're in, then you just have no heartbeat.
What did you think of the group?
So the group, obviously, if you've been living under a rock, is Barcelona, Benfica, and Spartak Moscow, of course, yeah, Ian McGeady and all. It's a fantastic group. I mean, that's brilliant, so it is, because they're 3 big teams. You know, there's 3 teams there that all bring something different. You know, you've got you've obviously got Barcelona and everything that comes with Barcelona. But, you know, to have Moscow in there and Ian McGeady coming back, again, that adds another wee dimension to it. And, you know, Benfica they're just like Celtic. You know, they're one of those teams that, you know, they go up and down and, you know, their league's not great at times or they don't always qualify, but they've got that fan base. And, you know, I just think the 3 teams we got are brilliant. And maybe it is my heart speaking rather than my head speaking, but we can beat Benfica and we can beat Spartak Moscow. We've proven that in the past. You know, we've even beaten Barcelona in the past.
I think it is a group that Celtic have a realistic chance of coming in second. I don't think there's anything between Celtic, Benfica, and Spartak Moscow. Benfica might shade it a wee bit, but I think it's a good group for Celtic. It'll be a good challenge for Celtic to qualify for second.
You know, we've chatted on here sort of over the last season or 2, you know, and talked about the Champions League and we talked about the Europa League. And sometimes the fear was that, you know, the Celtic team isn't the best Celtic team in history that we're watching right now. Okay, I think that's a fair point. But, you know, we worried sometimes that you would maybe get embarrassed against some of these really, really good teams. I don't think we'll get embarrassed in this group at all. I think this is up for grabs. It's going to be absolutely smashing.
Mm-hmm. I think so as well.
So do you expect us to qualify, or do you expect a Europa League place, or?
I could see us being second. I could see us being fourth.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt that, you know, we all expect Barcelona to win the group and probably win it quite comfortably. But there, you know, even if we came fourth in this group, which I actually don't think we will come fourth. I think we'll come third or we'll come second. You know, there's no embarrassment in coming fourth. One of those 4 really good teams has to come fourth. Mm-hmm. I just think it's terrific. I'm so looking forward to it, and my expectations now are starting to go up as well. You know, even if we fall down in the Europa League, you're starting to think, well, you know, we qualified for the Champions League. You know, we'll go in at a later stage. We'll be maybe seeded, and, you know, old Europa League would maybe be a good old adventure as well. You know, if we don't qualify, of course.
just the the obvious factors of the exposure, the income it brings. It's where Celtic belong. Let's put it that way.
Let me ask you a question. This would be a good talking point. So since the draw's been made, we've been reading on some of the message boards about the welcome to Celtic Park for the likes of Barcelona, and I'm starting to see a different attitude now. This whole friendly thing. Our spiritual brothers from Spain, and I suppose I shouldn't really say Spain, but Catalans anyway. It'd be great to welcome them back and all the rest of it. And then other guys are saying, we need to stop all that. Noise them up, play the Spanish national anthem instead of the Catalonian national anthem and things like that. Where do you fall on that argument?
No, you build up that friendship, and it becomes a friendly rivalry as opposed to antagonistic rivalry.
I don't think you have to antagonize them, Jared. Okay, but I think that I have absolutely no problem with Scott Brown pummeling Messi and saying welcome to Scotland.
I've got nothing wrong with that. No, not at all.
Okay, not at all. And I have absolutely no problem with Celtic playing tough Scottish football. That's what I'm pumped.
I'm sort of in the same boat. I mean, everybody loves the romance of Barcelona, and we do draw some correlation between Celtic fans and Barcelona fans and things like that. But at the end of the day, I want to beat Barcelona. I want to beat them, and I want to give Barcelona a real hard time. The way it used to be when teams came to Celtic Park, nobody liked coming to Celtic Park. Nobody. I mean, proven that in the past with the likes of Barcelona, Juventus, teams like that, where sometimes it can give you a wee bit. You know what I mean? Is there a word to describe it? It's just a wee bit too nice.
Well, that was one of my first reactions to the group. It was, we Barcelona, and especially Benfica. This is the third time we've seen Benfica in the Champions League.
Yeah.
This decade. Initially, I thought, same old faces, but it's a very interesting group because you've got three teams that all three teams could easily be second or fourth, and you never know what happens. Maybe one other team other than Barcelona will win the group.
So we've talked a wee bit there about Benfica and Barcelona. So what about Spartak with Aidan McGeady? That's tasty, isn't it?
The Russian league's off my radar. I don't pay much attention to, other than there's 2 or 3 teams that have got a ton of money and spend it like drunken sailors. But from what I understand, McGeady's one of their top players. Everything goes through McGeady.
I have to say, I mean, since he left Celtic, I've seen very little of him playing for Moscow. I have seen him playing for Ireland, and I've been far from impressed by him. And I don't know if Aidan McGeady still has that big stage jitters. He kind of, on occasions for Celtic, was a little bit anonymous when we played in huge games and people were looking to Aidan McGeady. And I'm just wondering whether the occasion might get to Aidan. I hope it does.
What kind of reaction do you think he'll get? Reception?
I hope that Aidan McGeady gets a good round of applause. I don't see us, giving him dog's abuse and stuff like that. I really don't.
No, I think he's going to get an unbelievable round of applause. And I think he's going to get a song. Really. I think the Celtic supporters are so great. They're going to give him a great...
I wouldn't go that far. I mean, he's not Henrik Larsson.
There was polarised opinions about McGeady.
Yeah.
A lot of people really rated him, and other people just didn't have the time of day for him. So it's going to be interesting to see what the reaction is, actually.
Yeah, I think probably his performance will dictate the reaction.
Plus, when he does show up, it's the last day of the group stages, so it could potentially be a very important game.
Mm-hmm.
It could mean second, third, or fourth that night.
I think the draw itself was kind of Celtic. I think we could have ended up in a lot worse situation than what we ended up in. To have a fighting chance going into the group stage of the Champions League, I have to say I'm dead happy. Dead happy. When you look at that group that Man City and all's in with Borussia Dortmund and, could you imagine being in that?
How does Dortmund be a fourth?
That's unbelievable, isn't it?
Hell.
I know. All right, so I know the Helsingborg match and stuff is a wee bit old hat because it happened a few weeks ago. Let's turn our attention then to the weekend's game against Hibs. 2-2. So before we actually talk about the ins and outs of the game, this league's bloody good, isn't it? Is it just me, or why am I enjoying this so much?
Is it good, or is it just is there a good level of parity?
It's entertaining, that's for sure. They're good games.
Chris, there was 4 or 5 games played on Saturday, and Celtic and Hibs were the only 2 teams to score goals.
I know, but we can only go on the games that we see. It's very refreshing to see teams come out and attack Celtic at Celtic Park. Now, I know probably the first half against Hibs, it was all Celtic. And in the second half, I think Hibs regrouped a wee bit and come out and give it a crack. But I think the games have been really, really entertaining.
I suppose I wouldn't disagree with that.
So here's funny. I'm in Chicago. Actually, I'm in Iowa last weekend. My wife's half-brother, got married in Iowa. And don't need to really talk about that much, but it was a great wedding, actually. And I'm watching it on my iPad as I'm eating with a bunch of people from Chicago. And
at the wedding?
At the wedding, well, we had breakfast before the wedding. So I'm watching Celtic, and they go, and they're talking, and they're, oh my gosh, this is amazing, and oh my gosh, look at Jamie over there, oh my gosh. And Hibs pissed me off, all right?
Was that your Chicago accent, or was it?
That was my attempt at it. Oh my gosh. Dude, everything they say is oh my gosh.
You never heard that in the Blues Brothers?
It's the most annoying thing. Look at the size of Jamie's sausages on this plate. Oh my gosh. And I'm just watching Celtic, right? Oh, and then, forget it. I can't. These guys are good family. God bless them all. But
look at the size of Jamie's sausage.
Well, let me tell you, her maiden name is O'Neill. They are short, so a bunch of Irish little midgets from Chicago.
There's a phrase I never thought I'd hear in the Lost Boys podcast. Look at the size of Jamie's sausage.
What I'm trying to say is, it is entertaining and such, but Celtic pissed that game away. You had 2 mistakes in the back. Celtic never lose that game. Come on. And I know they've got injuries. I know there's excuses, and we can sit here and name 20 of them, but you just can't lose that game.
Yeah, I don't know that supports your theory that it was an entertaining or a competitive league, Chris, because that game should have been 3-0 at half-time at least.
All right, should have, could have, would have. It wasn't. It was 2-2, and the best goal of the game.
It wasn't because Hibs were playing so well. It was just misfortune for Celtic.
Well, Hibs scored the best goal of the game. I mean, their second goal was the best goal in the match.
But Chris, I'm telling you, if it's 3-0 at half-time, they're not getting that fantastic goal in the second half.
No, I understand that, but it wasn't.
No. I don't know if I buy into your theory that it's a very entertaining league. Celtic dominated that game.
No doubt, and you still expect Celtic to win the league, but I just think that the games that I'm watching are entertaining. I don't think that they're foregone conclusions. We've drawn twice and we've won twice. The 1-1 match against Ross County, my God, was scored in the last kick of the game to make it 1 each. But it's fun, Jerry. I think is my point. It's good fun. The matches are good. I don't miss who at all. I'm now looking forward to the next match against St Johnstone. And then you've got the Champions League thrown into the mix there as well. This season's going to be terrific. I'm just enjoying it.
Well, I'm enjoying seeing the young boys that are playing.
Dead straight, yep.
Particular Tony Watt.
Mm-hmm.
He's entertaining to watch.
He is. But I'll tell you, I'm already annoyed at tweets of what. I'm already annoyed at that. I'm done with it.
What do you mean, Jimmy?
What did you say? What a goal. What are we doing?
All right, okay.
What time is it? What's everything? Goodbye. That's got to stop.
Headline makers. So, is Tony Watt becoming the darling at the expense of Anthony Stokes?
I don't think that's the situation, because Stokes is injured right now, so he's not playing because he's injured, not because Tony Watt is displacing him.
There's certainly questions being asked at the minute. As Tony Watt impresses every week, the question marks against Anthony Stokes are being raised more and more often. That's my point.
I think it's the new signings that will pose more concern for Anthony Stokes than Tony Watt will.
But still, there was a late bid for Stokesy in the transfer window on the last day, and it was rejected. Obviously, Stokes is still in the plan.
He does. We've talked about this before. I don't think he's going to be the first name on the team sheet in Europe, but he'll certainly do a job for you in the SPL.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Chris Commons at the minute, is it Chris Commons we signed?
And Fuego.
He is.
He
really is.
I half expected him just to trot on Saturday and score the winning goal.
Yeah, you kind of got that, didn't you? When he came on, you just thought, okay, we've messed around here enough. Here it comes. So we made quite a few signings in the transfer window. Not that I know an awful lot about the players that we signed. However,
before you get in there, more on the game on the weekend. When they took off McCourt, I thought that was I'd have left him on. I know we've had this debate about, you and I particularly are not big Paddy McCourt supporters, but I thought that was the wrong substitution. I thought they would have took Twardzik off and kept McCourt on.
Just for a more attacking formation kind of idea, Jerry?
Yeah, I think he had more influence on the game than Twardzik did. But it was just after that Twardzik had that fantastic free kick that he just missed.
Mm-hmm. But Paddy played a really different role, I thought, at the weekend. He seemed very, very deep.
I think he's been coached to play that way. He's more disciplined.
And did you think it was effective, or did you think Paddy's more?
He had his moments.
Yeah. I thought he'd done okay. I mean, I didn't really have any complaints about Paddy McCourt the weekend. Although when you saw Commons coming on and you seen Paddy coming off, you just thought, I'm sure what was going through Paddy's head was, oh God, here we go again. We're not winning, so they hook me and bring on Commons.
Or he's thinking to himself, I aspire to be Chris Commons.
Well, I mean, Paddy still has it all to do in my eyes, to be honest with you, but let's not flog that horse to death completely.
It's a weekly subject for us, isn't it?
So, let me ask you a question. How hurt is Kyle? I mean, I haven't really heard anything about.
Good question.
And Wanyama, didn't he go off at half time?
Lennon said he's got a dead leg.
He's
been carrying him for a couple of weeks.
The young fella that came on for Wanyama, Irvine, I thought he'd done all right.
Yeah. He's Australian, eh?
Is he?
Aye. Well, his parents are Scottish, but he was born in Australia.
Huh.
I didn't know that till Saturday.
So on the bench we had Slane, McGregor, Irvine, Chalmers, and then in the starting lineup we had Watt, Twardzik, even Lustig. It's a very, very young team, isn't it?
That's what I mean.
Gary Hooper's like 23.
This is the excitement for me this season watching Celtic is seeing that young team develop. I think it's a fantastic opportunity for Celtic right now. Is these young players are going to get an opportunity to develop themselves, and if Celtic decide they're not in their plans, I think you're going to make some money off these guys.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course,
it's
they put a few of the
fantastic opportunity for Celtic right now.
And then they put a few of the sort of older heads on for the Champions League games and stuff like that. I think it's a very interesting project that Lennon's working on right now. And to be fair, the young lads haven't really looked out of their depth. They've looked steady. I mean, I don't think any of them have particularly set the heather on fire. But I'm not pointing any fingers and saying they're rubbish.
But they've been commanding their age group for the past, 4 or 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see that development. So it's not like they've just, shown up and they're half-decent players.
Did you all fall off your seat whenever Lustig scored?
Yeah.
Never saw that one coming.
I just went, oh my gosh. Yes.
All right, so
crazy.
All right, so into that squad of the young guys, we signed a few new faces. We have Lasad, who we signed from Levante. We signed the goalkeeper Kamenar. We signed the forward Miku, and then we signed F.A. Ambrose as well. Was that a sign of intent? I know there wasn't the marquee signings that we've talked about in past years, but really the marquee signings haven't really worked either. When we look at some of the guys that came, maybe the exception of Robbie King. But the guys that they signed struck me very much as being Neil Lennon type of players.
That's exactly how I see it. It's interesting the leagues that they went and signed these players from. Instead of paying over the top odds for a championship caliber player, they went to La Liga and bought players from second tier players or second tier teams in Spain. That's exactly what Lennon's doing. Is identifying talent. Either in the past couple of seasons, it's been from more obscure leagues, but now he's targeting good players in good leagues and getting them for a decent price.
Mm-hmm. I mean it's a really good policy for right now, isn't it?
Of course it is.
It'd be interesting to see some of these guys because obviously, we're all disappointed that Bangura left and stuff.
It's breaking my heart.
Oh God, I think that's a lessons learned there, isn't it? But these guys come with a different pedigree, I think. And we've signed a central defender, which is what we've all been crying out for. We've signed the central defender, of course, is Ambrose, F.A. Ambrose. We signed the Getafe forward Miku, who looks really, really exciting.
Did you hear Lennon's comments about that Miku today? How he's about his professionalism, his training regime, his diet, everything is just so focused. And that's the other aspect as well. You're bringing players in from different leagues who are exposed to different training regimes
mm-hmm.
than the typical British player who's either played in the EPL or the Championship.
And
they bring a different attitude towards the preparation as well.
Professionalism, Jerry.
I think that's what Lennon's looking at more than as well as the price ticket.
Mm-hmm. And of course,
I'm a little worried that he's stealing people.
I think Levante are saying he's stealing something.
Yeah, come on, is that what we're doing now? We're ripping people off. What are we putting bags over their heads and putting them in vans?
No, that was the ones we get rid of.
I think you're taking this North of Ireland stuff a little too close, guys.
Oh, poor old Belfast's up in smoke again, so it is. It went bonkers. Unfortunately, of course, Del Piero didn't join.
What did you think of
that? That he didn't join, or the very fact we're being linked with him, we spoke to him?
I was really disappointed that it didn't come off. I thought that would have been a fantastic signing from Celtic.
It would have, and it would have. It would have been just brilliant. I wouldn't even have occurred if Del Piero had a side for Celtic and never played for them. Even just to get him run around the pitch and warm up some weeks.
I tell you what, his one season at Celtic would have been better than the one season of your Italian hero. Let's put it that way.
Hold on a minute here. You're not talking about Paolo, are you?
Absolutely.
You're arse. That's all I can say to you. You're arse. Paolo was brilliant. Not everybody agrees with what he done off the pitch, and that's fine. But Paolo on the pitch was a delight, and nobody could say any different, Jerry. Come on now, be honest. The man was worth the admission fee on his own some weeks.
All right.
Well, you're not even going to throw me a crumb there? You're not going to say I'm right?
I think Del Piero would have been a great influence for Celtic.
All right, yes, I agree with that.
Just for those young guys training with them.
No, hold on. You're not getting off this hook. Di Canio, you didn't think Di Canio was a smashing player and really good for Celtic?
It wasn't bad.
You're waiting me up. I know you are. Look, I tell you what. Paolo Di Canio might be the next manager of Celtic. Could you imagine me, Paolo, in front of the cameras? He's brilliant. He's tailor-made.
Getting rid of Lennon already. Jesus.
Okay, what are you smoking?
What? You are joking. You surely the wee man's entertainment. He was entertainment on the pitch, and now he's entertainment off the pitch. Anybody that takes their goalkeeper off after 22 minutes because he conceded a goal will work in my book and kick him up the arse as he's going off the pitch. It's brilliant. Asking big freaking Mark Haitley to bring it on, throwing the punches at him and everything. Gotta love Di Canio.
All right, let's go off this bandwagon.
There's another thing. I'll bring this up as well. I was sitting watching Charlie Nicholas last week on Sky Sports. And
here's another one. Okay.
Why do people hate Charlie Nicholas? I love Charlie Nicholas. I still do.
I don't even know who this guy is. And all I see is on Twitter, everyone having a heart attack on this guy. I don't even know who he is.
All right, so you've heard me talking in the past. Whenever I was a wee boy playing in the street, it was Kenny Dalglish. When Kenny Dalglish left, the next boy I was in the street was Charlie Nicholas. Charlie Nicholas, Brown, what a team. That was a brilliant team. Poor old Charlie. All right, anyway. You want to move on, do you?
It's before my time.
You just wax lyrical about all these failed heroes. On you up.
Field heroes. You got to be joking, do you? Are you joking? They were brilliant. They were brilliant entertainers. So anyway, what about Ki Sung Young leaving? No surprise.
Great business. Fantastic business.
So no surprise in the end then. Obviously, after the Olympics and stuff, he went back home and never came back to Glasgow.
Remember I asked you that question if he'd be coming back, and he never did.
Well, you were bleating on the other week there about the website in Korean and all the rest of it. That didn't last very long, did it?
That's why I asked you the question, because that was my segue into asking if he'd even be back.
Without sounding really horrible, right? Do we really miss him?
Yeah.
Seriously?
He's a good player, Christopher.
Well, there was an interesting question come out of the Helsingborg game. Who would Lennon drop from the midfield after that game to accommodate? How would you bring Ledley back in at the side?
The Helsingborg game. So the midfield that day was Brown, Collins, Forrest, Wanyama. If you class Wanyama as being in the midfield that day.
Yeah. So how would you accommodate bringing Kyle and Ledley back into that side?
Well, Brown's obviously injured.
Ki Sung Young.
I honestly don't miss him, Jimmy. I don't really get what you're saying. He was a really good player. I thought he was a very uninspiring player. He bordered on being boring.
Oh, bordered on what?
Being boring.
You're crazy.
Oh, I liked him. I thought he was a good player, Chris.
He was all right, but I mean, I don't know. He was boring to me. He cut the ball and he passed it sideways, or else he shot and then the ball went into Rosehead. There was probably more to his game than that. There probably was more to his game than that. But, just being a football fan and a Celtic fan of the cavalier approach that you sort of grew up with, Kaesong Young wasn't doing it for me.
Well, it was a good bit of business.
No doubt about that.
6.5 million.
Cha-ching.
Yeah, exactly. And he won't be the first. I think we'll start seeing one of those a year.
So if we are guaranteed 15, 16 million quid from the Champions League and another 6 million quid for Kaesong Young, well, I don't think we'll do too shabbily off the pitch this year as well, you would think, right?
What was the spend on the signings last week?
Okay, let me see if we've got any numbers on this. As per the BBC website,
I think it only came out to about 1.5 million, was it not?
Well, that's the worst these days. I mean, nobody ever sort of reveals how much money they spend, Well, the goalkeeper from Nantes, the Slovakian guy, he's on a loan. Miku's on a loan. F.A. Ambrose has signed a 3-year contract. Let me see. No fee mentioned there. I don't think we had a huge outlay in terms of transfer money.
Right, so you're bringing in about 20 million, and you're not spending more than 2 or 3 million.
Mm-hmm.
Can I be honest with you guys?
Let's hear it.
It drives me a little crazy as an American to keep hearing you guys saying how important it is to be fiscally responsible. I'm a fan. I can give a rat's ass about fiscal responsibility. Okay? I run a company. That needs to be fiscally responsible. I run a household. I don't need my sport teams to be fiscally responsible. I just want them to win, for God's sakes, and not fold. Wouldn't that be nice?
I don't think you're going to get any arguments, sir, Jimmy.
I could care less.
But there has to be a balance, Jamie.
It has to be a balance because that's the time that we're in right now. But if a multi-billionaire bought this team and just pissed money away and brought in all these fans, we'd be loving life just like Man City.
But they can support that. They can support that avarice if you want. I think one of the reasons why you can pick up players in Spain now is because of their financial situation.
Well, yeah, and 25% unemployment rate in Spain doesn't exactly help them. I can see this. But what I'm saying is you don't hold banners. You don't put banners up in Celtic Park for being fiscally responsible. Fiscally responsible doesn't put butts in seats. I just want Celtic to win. I want them to not. You guys have a lot of green-colored glasses on today. They've had 2 ties already, which is ridiculous. They have to walk away with the SPL. I want a really nice showing in Europe, and let's build this team for years to come. But losing a guy like Key and saying that he was just okay, that's ridiculous. That's a good player.
He was okay.
But he was a good player, and there's still...
You guys have your green-colored glasses on.
He was a good player, but there's still ample other good players available. I don't think it weakened the squad to sell him.
Lads, I don't want to build a new guy, Lasad, up too much, but I'm looking at him here on the BBC website, and he's one handsome man. He's gonna give big gorgeous George a run for his money. He's got that sort of the Mediterranean look. He's got the wee grown out beard and stuff like that. Sammy's place as gorgeous George is in jeopardy. That's all saying the matter.
Speaking from a guy who takes long baths.
Not that there's anything wrong with
that. What's he doing in that bath, Jay?
I don't know. I mean, while you were fooling around waiting, he said, no worries, I'm in the bath. I'm like, wow.
Look, lads, I'm relaxed. That's all I can tell you.
Times have changed. Times have changed since my back garden, Christopher. I'll say that.
And your big sausage.
My big sausage. Oh, my gosh, my big sausage. The size of that thing on his plate.
Okay.
All right. I'm just saying, look, guys, we got a little green-colored specks going on right now. Things seem to be good. There's a game in hand, and they're only 1 point back, which is nice. But I'd really like to see Celtic really come together as a squad. That's all.
So what if we do have our green-coloured spectacles on? I wear mine with pride. We're champions of Scotland. We're in the Champions League. We're doing well in this league. We're bleeding young players. We're signing a few different internationals. Things are good.
Things are very good right now.
We get rid of Bangura. We get rid of Big Dan Mastorovic. Things are good. Leave us alone. In fact, I might put a pair of green-coloured spectacles in the post and mail them to you. Maybe you need to put them on.
Look, I just missed Daryl Murphy. No, I feel... I mean, how many goalies are we going to sign right now? Jiminy Christmas.
Oh, I see where it's going. You're taking the hump because the big Yank's out of the frame now, are you?
You're damn straight. Now I got to return that new...
Big Survey's gone.
That was an interesting signing, getting that goalie. Obviously, that's just cover. Is that right?
Don't know. However, I listened to somebody phone into the HailHailMedia the other night, and he seemed to know an awful lot about this guy and rated him highly. Like I phoned in from Slovakia or somewhere around that direction, and said that the guy's no dozer. I mean, he's no tube like.
I'd heard the exact opposite.
Well, only time will tell on that one. So,
realistic? Do you think he'll actually ever play a game?
Who would know? I mean, with the way that Lanny's rotating the team, he might get a chance. I mean,
Zaluska, Zaluska's going to get the first opportunity to play in the League Cup or something. You
would think so, right? You would think so, but you just never know. You don't know what goes on in training. I mean, Zaluska... Is Zaluska battering anybody's door down to get on the pitch? I don't know. Although, I mean, Foster's playing very well, demand of course, but Zaluska gives me the impression he doesn't really care. Pick me if you want, that's fine. If not, I'm going to wash my car.
Well, again, it just strikes me as he was Servy's replacement more than Zaluska's replacement for next season or years after.
Mm-hmm.
That's my take on him. Where is he?
But Jimmy or Jerry, in saying that, I mean, we only got him on a 1-year loan.
That's what I mean.
You know, do you think he's just there for learning culture in Glasgow? Maybe so. Maybe so.
Maybe he's a foreign exchange student.
All right, let's see what else we've got. What else have we got for tonight? Right, so obviously we're in International Week this week. Good God. For our sins, we're in International Week. And then we have an away trip to St. Johnstone on September the 15th. And then we have Benfica Wednesday the 19th. You know what? Why don't we have a podcast next week and we'll talk about that next week? How's that sound?
Are you going up for any of the games, by the way?
I plan to go for the Celtic Dundee game on the 22nd. That's what I'm looking at.
Any of the Champions League games?
Don't know, Jerry. I would like to. I'll probably try and get up for at least one. It would be really, really nice to go and try and see Barcelona. I have to say that. That's very tempting. And saying that, any of the three of them, I could pick any one. I'd be happy to go to any of them because I think the atmosphere would be great.
It'd be almost as convenient for you to go to Lisbon or Barcelona as it would to go to Glasgow.
Yeah, I like the way you think there, big lad. I like the way you think there. Wee weekend in Barcelona. I think I could do that. Well.
Well, let's not quibble.
Oh, well, that changes everything.
Jamie, did you notice that talking about your green coloured specs, the extended contracts were being offered to Wanyama and Hooper and Ledley?
Well, I think that's good. I mean, those are great players, and I just hope they're not extending them to try to sell them later.
That's my take on it, Jamie.
That they are doing that to sell them?
Councillor, you're leading the witness.
Oh, it commands a better fee if somebody's on if they've got 3 years left in their contract as opposed to just one, doesn't it? It's just common basic business sense. Especially with Wanyama. he's going to be commanding twice the money we got for Key.
Do you think there comes a stage in a footballer's life when they're really, really happy playing for a team, and then the club comes along and says, "We're going to transfer you"? When you look at guys like Wanyama, and he's a good example, sort of not knowing that much about Celtic before he came, and maybe falling in love with a club.
Oh, I think you're wrong. I mean, look at his number. Jiminy Christmas. That guy has grown up loving Celtic. Sorry, go ahead.
But you know what I mean? You look at Ledley. Ledley now gives the impression anyway to the supporters that, he's fallen in love with Celtic. For Celtic to come along and say, okay, your time's up. Yeah, I know it's an unusual situation these days because usually it's the players and the agents knocking down the club's doors to say, hey, we've got something different. But imagine playing for a team and really enjoying it and loving where you live and loving the league and the fans and the adoration and all the rest of it, and the club come along and say, all right, big lad, we're going to transfer you to QPR.
I think that was commonplace. I think that was commonplace in days of old, was it not?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I think John Hartson would probably be a great example of that. He came, I'm sure he had a fondness for Celtic, but I think he just absolutely fell in love with the club. It was probably heartbreaking when he was told that, your time's up.
I know you don't like me talking about American football, but Jerry and I have one of our favorite shows ever on called Hard Knocks. Jerry, did you watch it this season?
No, I can't get it, Jamie. I've only seen the first episode and part of the second episode.
Well, what's so brilliant about it is just the behind the scenes, Christopher, of the NFL. And this season it was the Miami Dolphins. Like, who cares? But it was still, what was so great about it is here's a guy that wants to be in this team, and last night he thought he made the team, life is great, and then 10 minutes later he's traded to New York Jets, and he's packing his boxes with his family, and he's heartbroken. He's happy because he's getting a chance, but he's heartbroken because he loved living in Miami. He loved the fans. And I think that we forget as supporters that these guys have families sometimes. They have kids in school. They have ties to the community they begin, and it's just hard for them to be sold like that. Because really, they're just sold as pieces of meat sometimes. It sucks.
It's interesting to talk about this subject because, so many times you hear the other side of the story about the players having little problems, to give you a bit of a decanio there, and it's always sort of the players driving the move. But if the club came and tried to sell you, it would be tough, wouldn't it? You think, Jerry, going back to Larson and the commitment that Henrik Larsson gave to Celtic, and you always hear, when you hear him talking about, well, why did you stay with Celtic? Why did you not go to Man United right away when Ferguson was after you? Or why did you not go to Barcelona earlier in your career and stuff? And his answer is quite consistent that, his family was settled in Glasgow. His children were happy in school. He was being paid a reasonable wage that, was probably, fantastic money, of course, but he probably could have doubled his money elsewhere. And it was just like, I had no reason to leave, he would say, But if the club came along and said, okay, Henrik, yeah, great, thanks very much, you're on your way, for him to say, well, my kids are happy here, don't want to move, the players wouldn't have a leg to stand on either if they just went, too bad.
Oh, they have a lot more influence in the decision now. They can just basically say, well, I can't agree personal terms with the other side. Yeah,
but when you look at the current financial situation, Jerry or Jamie, you were talking about earlier on, but if a team does need to balance books or for some reason need an income for whatever, you look at Ian McGeady, going to Moscow and us getting 10 million quid or whatever it was, because we wanted money to buy 4 or 5, 6 players with that money. It is quite unfair to the player too. But is that just the professional choice they made in life? It'll still be tough though.
I'm sure Ian McGeady is probably on a lot more money than Celtic were ever going to be able to provide to him.
Well, no doubt. And even, if he gets a 10% sign-on fee of that 10 million quid, he squibs in already, isn't he? All All right, gentlemen, we are coming to the end of this week's podcast. I say we'll get together again next week and talk about other things. A few things I wanted to talk about.
September 5th, you know what that day is?
September 5th?
Yes.
Johnny Thompson?
There you go.
Hey.
Good man.
Yes, You threw me there, actually, when you said September 5th there, I was going, but that's today. I thought you were quizzing me about a day coming up in the future. Yeah, the anniversary of Johnny Thompson, of course, you know. And
is there any more romantic figure in Celtic history?
There aren't many, because obviously, you know, Jimmy, you I don't know if you know about Johnny Thompson. Johnny Thompson died. He was the goalkeeper for Celtic, and he died in a Celtic Rangers match.
It was 81 years today.
81 years, so that was 1931, if I can count. So anyway, he died in a Celtic Rangers match in the 1930s, and the guy that injured him at the time, there was a whole furore about what happened and all the rest of it, but to answer your question, Jerry, very, very few people in the whole history of Celtic have that sort of romance about them, eh?
But every generation of Celtic supporter knows the Johnny Thompson story. But he's one of the most historic figures in Celtic lore. It's fascinating. It's a fascinating story in itself. Not the events of his death, but it's a fascinating story in how it's come down through the ages.
Mm-hmm.
It just mesmerizes me.
The thing about the whole Johnny Thompson story, to me, is the tragedy of it all. Because it's one of the few tragedies that is associated with Celtic. You know, obviously, you know, in more recent times, you've had the Ibrox disaster, which was a terrible, terrible tragedy. You know, you've had Heysel, you know, the Bradford fire, Hillsborough, of course, and the 96 that died at Hillsborough. But for Celtic supporters, it's probably the closest we have in terms of tragedy. And of course, I hope it's the last. But yeah, the romance of that whole story, when you hear some of the boys from the Celtic Grave Society talking about Johnny Thompson and where he came from and some of the things that have done since, you know, in this modern day, you know, you're saying it was 80 years ago. It was 80 years ago.
I know. I remember growing up, and my uncles used to talk about him. And then I was thinking about it a couple of years. These men weren't even born to see Johnny Thompson, but they knew about him and they talked about him, and that story's just getting passed down from generation to generation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean that's what's fantastic about Celtic as a club too. You know, I know it's very commercial, and it's, you know, if you know your history and all the rest of it, but the history is so rich.
Right.
You know, and the stories are so romantic, and they're bold, and they're interesting. And even though that happened so long ago, I mean, you'll tell Manus that story if you haven't already. You know, we'll all tell our sons about Johnny Thompson. You know, and that's fantastic. And that is one of the things that separates Celtic from everybody else. Wonderful. Anyway.
That's pretty brilliant, guys. That's awesome.
All right, so let's lift the mood a wee bit. We talked a wee bit about HailHailMedia at the start of the podcast, a wee bit of a laugh. So LostBhoys will be moving hook, line, sinker to the HailHailMedia umbrella over the next few weeks. So if you're listening to this podcast, look out for HailHailMedia. If you download the podcast on iTunes, look out HailHailMedia, and you'll get all the podcasts. And there's quite a few of them. There's a new podcast virtually every single day. They take all different shapes and sizes. There's phone-in shows, there's podcasts, there's interviews, everything under the sun. It is the place to pick up all of the Celtic media right now. And LostBhoys will be going over there. We'll have a handover period over the next 3-4 weeks maybe, as we sort of we warn you about this every week if you want the LostBhoys podcast. So that's where we will be. All the blogs for LostBhoys will go through the HailHailMedia site. So look out for that and give the rest of the lads a bit of support. Some really fantastic stuff there. I know we're all slagging earlier on, but it is real good quality stuff, and it gives you the variety now. You probably won't like them all. I mean, some people won't like LostBhoys, some people may like LostBhoys, but there's stuff on there that you'd actually check it out, and I'm sure you'll find something that will prick your interest for sure.
You know what made me really laugh, Chris and Jerry? When you go to the HailHailMedia site, it's a beautiful site, first of all.
It's far better than your site.
Congratulations to
Josh Gaffney,
to David Harper, and to Graham, because it was really their idea, and it just blossomed. And congratulations to both of them. But,
and a special thanks to Josh Gaffney for actually putting that site together. I mean, I meant to give him a shout out last week. What a job he done. Well done, man.
Yeah, absolutely. But what's so funny, I was talking on Twitter, and Chris, who did the match reports for us, and now got too big and does it on his own, Sorry, Chris. He sent a picture of the first LostBhoys site that I did for my match. Did you see it?
Yep.
How funny was that? And I thought that was the catch me out.
Well, you just did it on a weekend, did you not?
I did it every damn night. I'd have to put
but the first build, you just did it up on a weekend, did you not?
Yeah, I did it one weekend. And because Christopher's build was terrible.
Awful.
It was an embarrassment. Couldn't have my name associated with that. So then I put mine together, and it was the biggest pain in the ass, and I realized that Chris did it on purpose.
I might not be tall, but I'm not stupid.
Oh, what a pain in that was. And thank God Harper took it away from me. And now, oh my God. So from Acorns to Mighty Oaks, congratulations for everyone in the HailHailMedia. It's been amazing.
But the beauty about it is somebody always takes your stuff and makes it better. The bar's always raised. Someone will always come in and do things better than the way you do it. And that's fantastic. I mean, that's what keeps it fresh, and that's what keeps everybody challenged, and it allows old farts like us to just have a podcast whenever it tickles our fancy. That's brilliant.
It is nicer. There is no pressure on us to do anything, really. So that's kind of nice.
Did you see that video that Carluke did on the weekend?
At Paul Larkin's book launch? It's superb, wasn't it?
The quality of the video is outstanding.
But how long is it going to be before there's a regular video cast? I know we done one many moons ago.
I can see that it'll be sooner rather than later, Chris.
Well, I'm doing it right now. I think you can go on YouTube right now and see Jamie's thoughts.
That was
the first one. That's a great segue, gentlemen. Thank you very much. The first ever Jamie's Thoughts is on YouTube. Just YouTube Jamie's Thoughts. And it's brilliant.
Jimmy, remember when we had the big banner and all with the LostBhoys logo on it for the phone-in shows and turned the cameras on? It was brilliant.
Yeah.
Or the night we turned the cameras on your back garden talking to Jerry and we get caught on Kerrydale Street. We got like 30 people watching it at 3 o'clock in the morning.
That's right. I wonder if our first call-in show or our second call-in show after the Ross County debacle.
Oh, God.
If we could find those, wouldn't that be brilliant to put one up, like a little reminiscent?
I have all of those. Do you remember?
You do?
Yeah. Do you remember that day when we got beat by Ross County and we bummed this live show up? And I was so mad. I was like, I'm not doing it. I can't do it. I can't do it. And then next thing, Eddie Pearson from Celtic Underground texted me, you better still do this effing show. I didn't say it.
No, it was right after.
That was fantastic.
I mean,
and it was
we had lost the game, and we said we weren't going to do it. And we were supposed to do it 1 hour after the final whistle.
I still haven't forgot Samras for early.
Oh, you had to get your shot in, didn't you?
Yes.
Jimmy, I have brilliant photographs of us actually in your back garden with Eddie Green, Texas, God rest his soul, all doing the podcast. And Jerry's actually, I must show him to you. And Jerry, you're actually on the screen, remember, because you were the only one we had to Skype with at that time, and we used to put the cameras and all on. And we used to laugh at your big bald nut and freezing it off in the winter. Jimmy, remember he used to sit downstairs in the basement with his coat and his hat and his scarf and everything on? You were too miserable to put another log in the fire. Okay, so before we go, we have to spin the big rickety wheel. Jimmy, you have the big rickety wheel on hand, don't you?
Yes, very much. I got it out of storage.
Okay, and you have stuck the 22 numbers on the big rickety wheel, and you need to spin. We have 3 books to give away, very nicely donated by Chris.
Right, okay. The question for the one of 2 books is as follows. Which Celtic player scored both the winner against Kilmarnock on the day that Celtic clinched the league in 2003-04 and also scored the final goal of the season in the Scottish Cup final?
Okay, so James Birchall, we need 3 names, 3 numbers. You give me 3 numbers of those 22, and for the first time this season, James Birchall, spin that big rickety wheel.
Here comes the first one. It is 16, Christopher. 16.
16 is Terry McGann from West Milford in New Jersey. All right, Jimmy.
Oh, way to go, Jersey.
There we are. We got 1 yank in already. Okay, where you go, Jimmy. Give her another rattle there.
The next number is, here we go. Looking like 5. Oh, it's 6. Just made it. It's number 6.
Number 6 is Gary Bergen from Belfirst. Very good. Gary Bergen from back home in Belfast.
And the last one. Big money, no whammies. Here's the spin.
Here's the money. Here's the pitch. Oh, my God. I think he's going to make it.
There he is, Meatloaf, number 12.
Number 12 is Kevin Irvine from Glasgow. Very good. Oh, that was good. We got an American, we got an Irish guy, and we got a Scots guy. I can't beat that with a big stick. Very good. So, Terry McGann from West Milford, New Jersey, Gary Bergen from Belfast, and Kevin Irvine from Glasgow. There will be a book sent by our own Chris in the post to you over the next week or so. Which is fantastic because I don't have to mail anything. Brilliant. Okay. Congratulations, everybody. All right, gentlemen. I think we will call it a night because I know, James, you want to go and watch the Cowboys.
Mate, I got things to do. How about them Cowboys? Let's go. NFL tonight.
Jamie, they're going to get their arse handed to them tonight, pal.
That's enough. If you were bigger, I'd fly. If you were smaller, I'd fly up there right now. But I would miss the game.
Fantastic. All right, lads. So we will be back again.
Big.
We will be back again next week, and we will do a wee bit of a Timmer Hunt. Will we call it Timmer Hunt or Timmer Cluj? Timmer Cluj. We'll do Timmer Cluj next week, and if anybody wants to send any suggestions in, they can do it on Twitter. We are obviously at the LostBhoys, and you can send them via email, lostboys@gmail.com, or you can post it on our Facebook page and all the usual places. Let's have some good ones for next week because we haven't done it in ages. And I think next week, because it's International Week, well, come on, we'll have a wee bit of a laugh, will we?
All right.
All right, sounds good.
Right.
Gentlemen.
Good night. God bless. How about them Cowboys? Good night.
Been a pleasure as usual, guys. Great to catch up with you again and talk to you next week.
Yeah. Take care.
Cheers.
Take care, guys.
Bye.
So there you are, lads and lasses. That's us for another week. So remember now, we're moving LostBhoys over under the HailHailMedia.com umbrella, and that's where the podcast will be from now on. You'll probably have this on LostBhoys for another couple of weeks, but you really should be thinking about changing your subscription over to the HailHailMedia.com subscription on iTunes. And talking of iTunes, I know all the lads this week that do all the different podcasts were talking about the numbers that we've had so far, and everybody's really delighted about it. But see if you were to leave us a little review on iTunes against the HailHailMedia.com channel, I know everybody would really appreciate it. It'll take you 15 seconds. Only leave it if you like it, of course, like. But I know you've got an awful lot of people doing an awful lot of work for us, and it's we better pay back, and it doesn't take you any time at all. So that would be fantastic if you were able to do that for us. So next week we'll have a podcast. It'll be me and Jerry and Jimmy just shooting the breeze. International week. We'll go on, we'll do the Tim and Clues thing, and send us any suggestions for Tim or Clues, which I would love you to do. You can email us at lostboys@gmail.com. You can register them on the Facebook page for Lost Boys, the Facebook page for HailHailMedia. You can send them to our Twitter account, which is at the Lost Boys or at HailHailMedia, and we'll pick them up and we'll read out the best ones. Congratulations to all the competition winners this week. Hopefully we'll have another competition in another few weeks' time, and that's something that we want to keep doing throughout the year. Okay, there you are. I'm away to listen to the Homeboys live phone-in show with the blokes down under. My name is Chris McGuigan. You're listening to www.lostboys.com. Talk to you all next week. Playing us out as usual, Charlie and the Boys and the Song of the Lonesome Boatman.